Good morning. This morning's presentation is going to be over the Big Bang Theory. In my opinion, I think Big Bang Theory this is where science, philosophy, and theology all converse to create one science. Any discussion on the Big Bang would be incomplete without asking the question, what about God? The Pope makes the comment that creation is the supernatural act of it, but also is that he recognizes that the science behind it is that the Big Bang Theory is based off of the hypothesis that explained what happened at the very beginning. There was nothing before the Big Bang. They don't think space, time, anything that we recognize as humans today was non-existent, so to say, is that when they talk about the Big Bang, the pre-Big Bang, is that according to the standard theory, our universe sprang into existence as a singularity around 13.7 billion years ago. What is singularity? It's where does it come from? Well, is that science really doesn't know what it is that they recognize what it is. They recognize the need for singularity, but they're not exactly sure what singularity is. Is that it's the asset is that where the zones is that of understanding the physics is that to exist in the black holes is that even science doesn't even really understand what a black hole is that they understand that they do exist. They can't explain how they exist. It's the same thing with dark matter of what's creating the black hole. The intense gravitational pressure, the pressure is thought to be so intense that finite matter is condensed to the point of where we can't even measure it. Is that, so to say, is that a thimbleful, right, would weigh 100 tons or so. And so it's something that's not quite understood by human science today. We have a future with it, though. The initial evidence for the Big Bang Theory came from Edwin Hubble. In his earlier work with galaxies, is that Hubble had determined that the distance from some of the galaxies that had redshifted spectra. From this expansive redshift is also known that these galaxies were moving away from the Milky Way. Hubble found a relationship between the distance of a galaxy and the velocity at which it was moving away. What he was talking about is that this is the first recognition of expansion. And so Hubble was the first scientist to recognize that the universe is expanding, is that science today knows more about the expansion, but at the time is that Hubble was the first person to recognize that the universe was expanding and continues to expand today. What the importance of this is that Hubble was the first one to recognize that is a common beginning, and so is that the movement and direction are the common beginnings. And there was a time when all matter was together, and this is the point, right? Is that where they're looking at is that when they're looking for the Big Bang, is that they call that the point of infusion of where it at. What is the catalyst that started the piece? There was a moment when there was nothing, then there was something. Science really isn't sure 100%, is that they have a lot of theories. During that moment there was something happening, right? The singularity is that the compulsion of it, and then after that moment is the birth of our universe. There are many misconceptions surrounding the Big Bang Theory. For example, we tend to imagine a giant explosion. However, there was no explosion. That was not part of it. It wasn't like a firecracker going off in space to create the Big Bang. Another misconception is they tend to imagine that the singularity was a small fireball, but rather imagining a balloon popping and releasing its contents. Imagine a balloon expanding an infinite amount of space. So there's micro sizes so imagine is that the small balloon expanding to the size of our current universe. After its initial appearance, it apparently expanded, quote the Big Bang, and cooled, going from very, very, very small and very, very hot, is that temperatures and size that we're unable to measure them in science today. As the human, we're not quite there yet of being able to measure the heat and the size of what we're working with here whenever we're talking about singularities. And so, according to many experts, however, space didn't exist prior to the Big Bang. Back in the 60s and early 70s, when Stephen Hawking, George Ellis, and Roger Penrose first started turning their attention to the theory of relativity from Einstein. They extended Einstein's theory of relativity to include measurements of time and space. And so before the Big Bang, there's nothing. I don't think the human mind can conceive of the idea of nothing. After this singularity, after this cause and effect, then there's something. There's space, there's time, and there's elements.